key and very important that on this channel we try to educate ourselves on what the monkeypox is all about. So that is some of the things we are going to discuss on this particular edition of Edugist on CACTV. But before we commence, we first of all start with matters arising, as we always do on our previous editions. But permit me to proceed on this short breather, and when I'm back, we'll continue. Don't go away, I'll be right back. This particular program is actually meant to provide mass education opportunity for us. So the first thing you need to consider under presumption phase preparation by schools. Welcome back to number one, there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important. Edugist for today. On matters arising, let me start on an exciting note. As I'm glad to let you know it will be easy for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing. This preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us need to prepare and we need to be on the same page and make sure that we are ready to go back to school. The government is making frantic efforts to ensure that all of that demands are possible. However, they also said that they are going to meet in June to actually assess how far the promise that the federal government made to them, how far they've gone on that. However, on the academic staff union of universities, the strike is still very much on. As we had that meetings are being held actually with the federal government team, and we had that progresses are being made. However, there's no categorical statement yet on when the strike will be called off. The academic staff union of university also has actually expressed concern over some threats or intimidation by some university management trying to intimidate the members of staff, trying to make them to break the strike to resume. The union has actually cautioned the management that they should respect the decision of the union to embark on the industrial action in order to actually get some of the result of the demands of what they've been pressing for some times now. Also, we had that also on the strike, the National Association of Nigerian Students in Cross River State, Calabar, they've been demonstrating for quite some times now, and they've insisted that they will not stop until, they will not leave the street until the strike is being called off or suspended, that they want to go back to the classroom. Well, we hope that these issues will quickly be resolved so that the students can go back to school and take up their studies and be able to move on with their life. We had this sad news from Lagos State University, where we had that a 200 level law student was actually killed by unidentified driver. This happened along the Lasso Igondo Road, and the hit and run driver actually ran away and is yet to be found. Well, we hope that the law enforcers will do the needful and ensure that justice is being done on that. And then we pray God Almighty to comfort and console the family of those that have lost their loved one. We heard from Benue State University, where the Pro-Chancellor actually said the institution actually attracted about 76 billion naira from TED Fund over 23 years now. And they said these particular funds have been used for different infrastructural development in that particular institution. Well, we wish them all the best to get more and to also make sure that they are able to develop the institution infrastructure-wise. There is this news that we had from Oyo State, Igboora to be precise, when a particular parent is actually asking the management of the police secondary school Igboora in Oyo State to produce their missing son.
Mass education opportunity
it was alleged that the son was actually found with drugs. The police alleged that the boy was actually found with drugs. However, we also had another side of the story from the classmates of the boy, whereby they said that what actually happened was the one police officer there actually sold a phone to the students. So the student made part payment, and so he has not finished paying, and he was actually requesting for the money, and it seems the student could not pay, and so some of the classmates actually took the phone, returned to the police officer. So the student now went out to go and report, and we now said it was at that point that the boy was actually implicated. Well, allegedly, that's what we had. We cannot confirm that, but it has been forth and back. But we hope that the school management or the board in charge will actually waiting to make sure that this case is being resolved, because the parents are agitating now. They've not seen the boy for quite some time, and the parents are saying that the school management should actually so we also have that Emeritus Professor Osayuki Godwin Oshoinde, was the former Vice Chancellor of University of Benin, has actually passed on. He died at the age of 71. Pray that he so Basic Education Commission, UBEC, they are saying that we have about 189,070 children in school living with disabilities. And they also said that out of that, we have over 100,000 of them which are male, and 88,000 are being female. Then the worldwide statistics shows that we have about 93 to 180 million children with different categories of disability worldwide as at 2018 statistics audit reports that was actually obtained. Well, this is a huge number, and the importance of this is that the onus is on schools to actually ensure that they make provision for the disabled ones in those schools. For example, it would be nice that each lecture room or classroom have a rollover place whereby someone in the wheelchair can easily go up. But most of the time that is not being considered in most of the schools. So those that have challenges with their legs actually might find it difficult to take up some of these staircases. So it's very, very important that we have chunk of this number. Very important. They should actually be taken care of. It will be easy for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing, this preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us need to prepare and we need to be on the same page to make sure that we are ready to go back to school. Actually, a student also allegedly has been arrested and is to be prosecuted. We learned that he was driving a tinted glass car, and then the police officers and patrol actually flagged him down, but he refused to stop. He decided to accelerate, moving on, and so in trying to do that, he now hit a police officer. The police officer fell and passed out momentarily, but didn't die actually. But because of that act, he was actually apprehended, and is going to be charged to court. Well, we hope that things like this doesn't happen. If you are being flagged down by the police officer, the ideal thing to do is to stop and then explain yourself. If you are not carrying anything that is implicating, you should have the confidence to stop and give your own explanation. Okay, we have this from the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board. They said they want to be clamping down now on institutions that are awarding fake A-level results. As a matter of fact, they said in a particular institution, about 90% of the A-level result that was used for admission in a particular session were fake. 90%, you heard me right, it was 90%. So the Joint and the Matriculation Board, known as CHAM, they said they are going all out now to ensure that they flush out some of these things and ensure that institutions are able to also bring out rules and check and balances to ensure that they don't take some of these fake results for their admission into the university. You remember sometimes ago that I told you that in Ambrusali University, the management actually asked the student to resume on the 26th of May. But that did not actually happen, as we learned that academic activities actually collapsed there. The campus remained deserted as nobody came around for the lecture, as all the unions on that campus are still very much on strike. Well, we hope that everything will be resolved, as we said earlier, so that they too can go back to their workplace and the student can go back to their classes. Let's go to the United States. When we had some few days ago, there was a shooting in an elementary school in Texas, and that led to the death of 21 people there, 19 children and 2 adults. You know, a young boy, 18,
to provide mass education opportunity for us,
started shooting in Texas, which led to the death of several people. And that caused for concern, especially in the United States, because that will be the 27th shooting in 2022 alone. School shooting, not even general shooting. For general shooting, it's far more than that. But just school shooting in the United States for 2022 alone, that will be the 27th for this year. And we are just halfway the year. We're just in the halfway here, just in June. So imagine what will have happened or could happen if some measures, drastic measures, are not being taken. We learned that we have about 119 shootings since 2018 that have taken place in the United States. So I think much needs to be done to ensure that the security of some of these pupils are being taken care of in the United States. Maybe one of these days we'll find a way to also discuss some of these things on Edugist to see how some of these things can actually be curtailed and also the implications for that for us.
So the first thing
part of the
you
world,
need to consider under presumption phase preparation by schools is that
problem,
number one, there must be thorough cleaning actually of the environment.
Bringing
this
up some of these things
important.
over there, and how can we
it will be easy
Nigeria
for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing.
On
Edugist by the
where we are looking at matters arising.
All of us need to
I'm going to proceed on a short break, and when I'm back, I told you want to talk about monkeypox, and I think it's good that you know about the don't go. I'll be right back.
This particular program is actually meant to provide mass education opportunity for us. So the first thing you need to consider under presumption phase preparation by schools is that number one, there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important.
Welcome back to this particular segment. Well, I know it's no longer news to you. We've been hearing about monkeypox, and we learned that some people traveled into Nigeria and out to the United Kingdom some time ago, and when they got there, they actually tested positive to the monkeypox virus, and since then we've been hearing of the spread going around all over the world. And I think at this time it's very, very important for us to begin to sensitize ourselves on what this monkeypox is all about. Thereafter, the NCDC here in Nigeria also came up with information trying to tell us that quite a number of people have been tested. Over 60 people have been tested positive of monkeypox. They've recorded some death as well of the monkeypox. So I think it's very, very important that we begin to stir up the awareness of this monkeypox. And that is why we are bringing that to bear on Edugist from CAC TV, so that we can also protect ourselves and to make sure that we don't fall victim of some of these things because of lack of information concerning what the monkeypox is all about. Let me first of all tell you why
it will be easy
why
for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing. It's preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us
many
need
years
to prepare.
back,
We need to be on the same page to make sure that we are ready to go back to school.
Among traits. So from there, discovered that those posts was coming out with the monkeys, and from there they gave that name monkeypox. And monkeypox now happens to be a zoonotic virus, okay? A zoonotic octopus virus. What that means, when we say zoonotic virus, it means that it's actually a virus that can migrate from animals to humans. So those are the zoonotic, just like the coronavirus is also a zoonotic virus. That means it can be found in animals and can also go to humans. There are some that can't go, that are just limited to humans. When it comes to animals, I beg your pardon, when it comes to humans, they lose their potency. But there are some that can actually be transmitted and can result to a disease condition. So some of those they are referred to as zoonotic viruses. So those kind of viruses, like I said, can migrate. So this monkeypox virus also fall under this particular category. And as a matter of fact, the first human case of the monkeypox infection was actually recorded in 1970 in Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. Then that was the first place that it was actually recognized in humans. Okay, that was when it was. But actually, in our sense, the real monkeypox that I told you was found in the colonies of monkeys was actually first of all found in 1958. Okay, when we had two outbreak of pox-like disease that occurred in the colonies of monkey, and those monkeys were actually kept for research purposes. So by the time they just saw it, they just discovered that those colonies of monkey that was actually kept for research has actually developed poxes. And so by the time they now got out the poxes, they analyzed, discovered that, oh, there was a virus that actually caused it, and that was in monkey, and that was in 1958. But by 1970, the first human case was actually recorded in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, if you look at this monkeypox virus, well, the reservoir, the information on the reservoir is still sketchy, but majorly, of course, we know that since it was first of all discovered in monkey, definitely it can be in monkey, and there's some scientific report has also shown that the monkeypox virus can also be in rodent because some researchers have shown that the virus can be extracted from the rodent. So what we mean by reservoir is that where they can be stored en masse. You know, there are some of those viruses, they can be in some animals there, and sometimes the animals might be carriers. The animals might probably not even have the disease condition, but they might just be there. And most times, sometimes when they are transmitted to humans, the case might be different because the human can actually come down with a particular disease condition. So that's why we talk about the reservoir. So talking about the reservoir gives us the idea, because that is also going to help us to know what to avoid eventually, mainly when we know the reservoir, like
this
the Ebola virus
is actually meant to provide mass education opportunity for us.
So we have quite a number of some of these animals that can actually harbor these viruses. But when you are genetic, when you make some humans, they can actually
so the first thing you need to consider under presumption phase preparation by schools is
however,
that number one,
I know some people might be wondering that, oh, but why is the noise not
this is
as
very
much
important.
as what we have in the even though it's obviously launched that
it
so
will
many
be easy
countries
for the
they are
government
testing
agency to
people
properly
are positive
do
for the
what we call
monkeypox
the
virus.
contact tracing.
Well,
is
one
preparation
major
by the
fact that you
pupils
must
and
know
students
about the
themselves,
monkeypox
because all
virus
of
is
us
that
need to prepare and we need to
whereas
be on the same page to make sure that we are ready to go back
coronavirus
to
2
school.
RNA virus, the monkeypox virus is actually a DNA virus. Okay, so that means this monkeypox virus has DNA. Meanwhile, coronavirus has RNA. So you might think, what is the implication of that is that normally, if you have your DNA, for DNA organisms to progress, they first of all need to come to RNA. So the DNA comes to RNA, just like what we have in humans.
This particular program
your DNA
is actually
comes to
meant
RNA, we call it transcription. Then your RNA moves to the protein or the enzymes. In some cases of these viruses, they use it for proliferation, like the coronavirus is the polymerase, RNA polymerase. They use it for their replication in the host cell. So, but for monkeypox virus, it has DNA. So from DNA to RNA, so from RNA to the proteins or to the enzyme. Meanwhile, for coronavirus, it's just from RNA to the protein. So that suggests to you that the transmission of the coronavirus definitely will be faster than that of the monkeypox virus. So the monkeypox virus does not proliferate in terms of transmission, in terms of infection. It's not as fast as what we have for the coronavirus, because whereas one is DNA, the other one is RNA virus, and probably that is why the push or the emergency call that we had during the coronavirus has not really come forth for this monkeypox. But we shouldn't take it for granted to also note that yes, it's also going around, and several people also have been infected, and we also have recorded some loss of lives here and there. And so I think we should not take it for granted. So it should also be noted the implication also of one being DNA and RNA is that because it's DNA, the possibility of having several variants will not be as much as RNA, because it's RNA. So, and most of those RNA, the sequences are always single strand. So the possibility of mutation is high. So unlike the DNA, which is double-stranded, so the mutation level at the DNA level is reduced compared to the RNA level. So, and a lot of proofreading mechanism occurs at the DNA level, so reducing the chances of having several variants easily, just like the way we have for the coronavirus, whereby we're having different variants, because people are asking questions, why are we having different variants all the time? We heard about the alpha, the beta variants, the Omicron, and so on and so forth, you know. Even some people say, why are you even giving beautiful names to viruses? Actually, some of them are just alphabets. They are just giving them alpha, beta, gamma, and so on and so forth, Omicron, that they are all alphabets. So they just give them those variants to be able to distinguish them in actual sense. So, but for the monkeypox, they are DNA, so the level of their mutation is quite low, and that is why we might not get to hear of too much of the variants in future. So the advantage of that also is that formulation of the treatment, formulation of the vaccine will be a little bit easier compared to coronavirus, because the fear of the coronavirus is that why you have to be careful is that if you target a particular site for the virus, what if in a few days time the sequence or sequences has changed, and then where you are targeting has also changed? But if you have a relatively stable sequence, you can over time be able to bring out some things that can actually struck down the monkeypox virus. The mortality rate actually is about 10%, especially for the Central African strain. That means the one actually gotten from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Don't forget that majorly now, I think the major strains is still the one traced down to Democratic Republic of Congo, and the one also traced down to West Africa here, like the one found in Nigeria. So the strain looks a little bit different, but statistics shows that the one from the Central Africa is a little bit more pathogenic, and so we have about 10% of mortality rate. And as we speak, there's still no specific treatment for the monkeypox. In most places, they use, sometimes ago, they use the smallpox vaccine because the monkeypox also shares similarities with the smallpox. So they use the drugs for smallpox and the vaccine for smallpox. But over the years, seems the population now are developing, the immunity are becoming less and less for the smallpox vaccine. So that also cause for concern. So looking at that, you discover that we need to actually look at what we need to do on this monkeypox. And let me say this, that ordinarily speaking, the human body has the capacity sometimes to recover within some period of time. Okay, yes, we have and when someone has the virus, it has incubation period of between 7 to 14 days. Okay, so if somebody is infected, it might not quickly come down with the virus in the first 7 days. So within 7 to 14 days, of course, there will be a manifestation. Why in some rare cases, the incubation period might go between 5 to 21 days. Okay, so, and let me also say this, that normally for those with a very strong immune system, your body also should be able to recover on your own between 2 to 4 weeks. The body immune system, because whenever your body senses any assault or any antigen, the body antibodies actually responds to it, and they should be able to bring it down. So those that are vulnerable to monkeypox are children and those that are having compromised immune system. So for an average person that have a very good immune system, they might be able to withstand, even if they are infected, within 2 to 4 weeks, you should be able to recover, all things being equal. I'll proceed on a short break. When I come back, I will discuss some other things on this monkeypox. Don't forget that we're still going to talk about what are the things that is expected of us to be doing now so that we can actually prevent some of these things from getting to us. Like we said, sometimes you cannot even guarantee your immune system. So some people don't even know whether their immune system is strong enough. So you can't, for now, 100% say, oh, I will not be affected. So there are some steps that we need to take to ensure that the monkeypox virus infection doesn't get to us. Don't forget that it's already in Nigeria. So it has been confirmed by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control that we already have them in Nigeria. So many people have tested positive. Some of our labs, some of our molecular labs are already testing for the monkeypox. Even in Lagos here, I've been testing for positive. And quite enough, some people have tested positive, and they also recorded some mortality as well. So I want to proceed on a short break. Don't go away. I'll be right back as I give you more information on this monkeypox.
So the first thing you need to consider under presumption phase preparation by schools is that, number one, there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important. It will be easy for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing. It's preparation by the pupils and students themselves. Because all of us need to
discussion
prepare.
on Edugist. We are talking about
to make sure that we are ready to
so
go back
I ended by telling you
school.
So I told you that children and those with
this particular program is actually meant
now, let me tell you
to
some of the common
education
symptoms, some of those things that could come up. Number one, we have fever. Actually, fever is general. And we talk about fever, you're just talking about when you have increase in body temperature above the normal body temperature, fever. So fever is not specific for any particular ailment. Sometimes it's just a way of the body responding, telling you that something is wrong somewhere in the body. So what I'm saying that it doesn't mean that, oh, when you just feel that your body temperature is higher than normal, you just say, oh no, I'm having monkeypox. No. That is not the issue. There are proper molecular procedures that is being used to actually decipher for you to diagnose that this is monkeypox. But there are things that one can see and it can also call for questions. So number one is fever. Number two is body aches.
So the first thing you need to consider under presumption phase preparation by schools is that number one, there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important. It will be easy for the government agency to
when you have combination of this now,
what we call the contact tracing, preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us need to prepare and we need to be on the same page to make sure that we are ready to go back to school.
You just have to rest. So that might call for caution. And all these, we wanna have rash or rashes, okay, which eventually can now lead to red bumps on the skin. So, like I told you earlier, that some of these things look similar to that of smallpox virus. However, monkeypox is not as deadly as smallpox, okay. Neither is even as deadly as the coronavirus, but notwithstanding, no life should be lost. No life should be risked to be lost, and that's why we should be very, very careful about this monkeypox. So the rashes might come up, and maybe where some people is scratching, it develop into bumps, and those bumps eventually reddish bumps, and becomes bumps all over the body. So these are some of the symptoms, major symptoms that when you have this fever, body ache, fatigue, rashes coming up, I think the ideal thing is we should quickly go to the hospital, the designated places, and do the proper checks for ourselves. Let samples be taken, let the molecular analysis be done, and let proper diagnosis be done so that one can actually seek appropriate medical attention where it's being needed. Okay, having said that, let me now begin to discuss what are the things now we need to do. How can you protect yourself against monkeypox? Like I told us that, of course, if you say you are protected, if you say your immune system is protected, what about your children? Because sometimes if one is infected and you get in contact, because one of the major way of transmission, person-to-person transmission, is through close contact. So when you have close contact, actually, for a prolonged time, face-to-face contact for a prolonged time can actually lead to the transmission of the virus, and sometimes through the respiratory droplets. Okay, through the respiratory droplet, it can also. So if sometimes someone has it, but that person's immune system is strong enough to withstand it, but what about the children? What about your spouse, or even your parents, that your aged parents? Probably because of their age, that probably their immune system also, because as you also grow old, most of the body metabolic system also slows down in a way. So if you think you are strong, what of others around you? And that's the reason why you must take some of these things we want to discuss seriously. You must try to protect yourself. Also teach your family members to protect themselves so that they too will not bring it in. You remember during the corona pandemic that we have cases whereby the spouse brought it in, tested positive. The spouse did not die, but his partner or her partner that contracted it actually died. That's what we are saying. So even the person that brought it might have a strong immunity, but the person that you are staying with might have a compromised immunity, in fact, unknown to the person. So that's how even some people landed in the ICU. So we have to be careful. We have to place premium on our lives. So don't let us take some of these things for granted. Some people will say they've started again. We just finished one corona. Now they are bringing this one again all the time. No, we shouldn't say that. we should be sensitive to some of these things. We should place premium on life. Some people say, oh, it's politics. They are bringing another one again to make money. No, that's not true. Monkeypox has been around for quite some time. I told you it's about over 50 years, about 52 years. So this is not the first time that we are having issues of monkeypox. And we've also had some intermittent outbreaks some years back, which has been contained. So, because sometimes, especially in developed worlds, when some of this issue comes, we take them for granted. People actually want to see it visibly. They want to really see somebody that is affected before they will believe. And I don't think that is good enough, because, like they say, that experience might be a very good teacher, but sometimes experience might not be the best teacher, because experience might teach you some lessons that you might not be able to correct in one's life. So if somebody say, I want to see it first, and if the person sees it and he has a compromised immune system, or he has a loved one with a compromised immune system, and the person loses us our life, you want to wait until then before you believe that it's not politics. It's not. You want to believe that it's not a gimmick somewhere that's being sold to us. So you can't bring back that life. So it's better to always err even on the part of caution. So if they say something is happening, we have to take care. We have to ensure that proper precautions are being taken. So we want to look at how to protect ourselves against monkeypox. Number one is to avoid coming in contact with people that recently were infected. So for those that have been diagnosed, they've said those that have been diagnosed to have the virus, and those that have been infected, let's avoid coming in close contact with them, so that I told you, transmission most of the time is by close contact. So this close contact sometimes through the respiratory droplets can actually find a way inside the host cell. That's the other person, and maybe the resident in the host, and viruses, one major thing they know how to do is to replicate. They just begin their replication. So let's try as much as possible to avoid coming in contact. Number two thing is to wear a face mask if you are in close contact with someone with such symptoms. So if you know somebody that has already been infected, you understand, or that is showing those symptoms, the ideal thing to do is to wear your face mask to be on a safe side. I know some people say, face mask, when we just came out of one, don't bring us back to face masks, but we are talking about health here. So if you see somebody that is having similar symptoms, please, let's use our face masks to prevent ourselves. Some of these things sometimes is better imagined. It's just better that it doesn't come to you. So we make sure that you take all precautions to prevent yourself from getting infected. And also from the medical workers in the hospitals, everybody should always be on their guards now. If you are working in the hospital, you're a doctor, you are a nurse, or you are a paramedic of any kind, please, let's be very careful. Don't let it take it for granted. If you are in phlebotomy, if you are the one taking samples, taking blood samples, you have to be, everybody have to be very careful with your nose mask, because you can't be sure of what somebody is presenting, and not until it's been confirmed in the lab, and you can't say. And if you have gotten in close contact with the person, you've already caught the virus, contracted the virus before you even know that it's monkeypox, there's nothing you can do anymore than probably go home and begin to see, probably to use some things, eat well, sleep well, to make sure that you have a very good immune system. But it's better for us to keep off some of these things. When you see somebody that is infected, when you're working in the hospital, it's better to wear your face mask.
Particular
Make
program
sure that
actually
there's
meant
no respiratory droplets that comes near you that can actually endanger you. Don't forget that your life is not just your life. Your life also affects others. So if you're a worker in any medical center, you also know, or in a laboratory or thereabout, you also know that you go home, and the chances that you can infect your partners, you can infect your children, can infect your neighbors. You can even infect your friends. And you know we are used to communal life in this part of the world. So that's why we
mass
need to be
education
very
opportunity
careful.
for us.
Then number 3, for those having multiple partners, make sure you use protection, you use condom. If recently you have changed your sexual partner, actually on this platform we promote abstinence. Okay, we don't encourage you face your partner. If you are married, stay with your spouse, and that reduces your risk. So because research has shown that also this monkeypox can easily be spread through sexual intercourse. So, but for those that we always want to go around, you have to protect yourself. If not, you are exposing yourself. Like I said earlier, not only yourself, even exposing also your partner to this danger. Because as you go out, get infected, you come back to your partner again, you infect your partner, and you know the chain will continue. But if we take some of this precaution, we can cut off some of the lineage of this so that this thing does not spread and it doesn't go beyond control. Then number 4 is that avoid coming in contact with animals that could be carrier of the virus, that could be reservoir, like I said, like rodent, for example. That's one major one we have to contend with in most places, in the urban centers, in the rural centers, in most developing countries. You see rodents inside the house. You even see rodents even dancing around where we prepare our meals. Even in some places, you put down your food, the rodent will climb and come and take some and run away. Bags of rice, bags of beans, and a whole lot of food stuff. You see rodent attacking. So we have to be very careful to make sure that we get rid of some of these rodents off us and ensure that we reduce contact with some of these rodents. Very, very important. Number 5 is that we practice good hygiene. Don't forget that one major take home we could get from the coronavirus is that at the peak of it, there was a lot of hygiene. Most of us always washing our hands. When we come back, wash our hands. You check our bag, we have our sanitizer. I think to some extent we should try as much to imbibe some of these hygienic attitudes. It's very good for us, generally for most infections. Because you don't know, even for common colds, if you always wash your hand, you probably have washed off some of those things. So this, like I told you, that even the issue of the rodent, sometimes it could just be beyond your control, that you have rodents around. Probably in some cases the rodent is being killed. Make sure you wash your hands with soap. Make sure you wash your hand properly. Make sure you use sanitizer intermittently. You know, those are some of those things that can actually help. And let me add one more before we draw the curtain for today. Number 6 is that make sure you use personal protective equipment when you are carrying out your duties, especially for those of us working at our various hospitals. Let's ensure that we use a protective equipment where we are working. Don't let us take it for granted. You know, in some places where you are supposed to wear your hand gloves, please do. I know some people just take it for granted. You just want to rush. Don't let us take it for granted. When you need to put on your mask, put on your gloves, and when you are done, dispose them appropriately, so that we don't stand the risk of spreading this. And let me add one more. Number 7. Ensure that you eat thoroughly cooked meat. In this part of the world, we've been used to cooking our foods well. It has its own advantage, even though nutritionists will argue that probably you've subjected most of the nutritional components to heat, and probably some of them has been denatured. But in terms of things like this, especially for meat, it's advisable for now that we cook our meat thoroughly, so that the heat can actually help us to destroy some of these viruses. So even if those meats, the one you carry, probably they have some of these viruses there, by the time you actually cook them very well, very, very thoroughly, you discover that by the time you are done, some of these viruses must have been are taken care of. These are some of the things that we have for us today on monkeypox. I'm very sure that this has been beneficial to you. Let's not only for ourselves, let's also tell our spouses, let's tell our children what is expected of them. And those of us that are school owners too, don't forget that children are coming, pupils are coming, students are coming from different backgrounds. So please and please, let's ensure and encourage them to be very hygienic. In places that you can encourage them to be washing their hands, let them do. In places that they can be using sanitizer, please let them go ahead and do, so that you can keep some of these things at bay and they don't come near us. That is all we are going to be having today on Edugist from CAC TV. I've been your host, Dr. J.B. Minari, and hope you are going to join us next time as we bring to your doorstep again some important, exciting, inspirational, and educational matters that is going to be beneficial to you. Thank you very much for joining us, and God bless.
So the first thing you need to consider under pre-resumption phase preparation by schools is that, number one, there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important. It will be easy for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing. It's preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us need to prepare. We need to be on the same page and make sure that we are ready to